It's just a matter of personal taste, but I like it more when the Dodgers score more runs than their opponents. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and thanks to those of you who are with us live here on Wednesday evening, talking Dodgers. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, my name is Jeff Snyder. My normal co-host is Vince Samperio. It might just be me tonight. Vince might be here for the last segment. It's tough to tell right now. He watched the game on his phone from an LAFC game tonight, and so he is in traffic coming home from the soccer game right now. But Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like a lot of you. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com? Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. And doesn't this feel better? Isn't this a more fun episode? Like, you guys, I can't say enough about yesterday's episode. It was a therapy session for all of us. We got a ton of listens on the podcast version, a ton of views on YouTube. Crazy thing was the comment section on YouTube. It was straight up a therapy session. Most comments we've ever had on any episode. A lot of it wasn't even really replying to anything we said. It was just people venting in the comments. I think that's great. Like I've said many times, we all love the Dodgers. We all want the Dodgers to win. We all handle it differently when they lose. And I love that so many of you used our podcast on YouTube and the comment section there to have your therapy session. But tonight is a much happier episode because the Dodgers won 4-3. It was a tight game. It was close. It was stressful. It had a playoff atmosphere, and the Dodgers won the game. And after last night, when they lost in the most stupid fashion ever, a game that you can make a pretty good case that they should have won, this one going up against Dylan Cease. We said last night, it's going to be tough, but I also said last night, I am not any less confident about them winning on Wednesday night than I was before Tuesday night's game. And that's because one day to the next, different things happen. And tonight they got the hits. Gavin Lux had 2 hits. Freddie Freeman had 2 hits. Shohei Ohtani had the 2 biggest hits, 2 RBI hits, an RBI double and an RBI single, drove in half of the Dodgers runs. The other 2 RBIs, one was Lux and one was Teoscar. Teoscar had a big RBI single the first inning. Just only 4 runs, but that's kind of the point of playoff atmosphere. Like, this is baseball. We've kind of gotten, the Dodgers played the Marlins and the Rockies, and it's, there's a lot more runs in games like this. When you have Jack Flaherty against Dylan Cease, 4-3 is a high scoring game. The fact is, both of these all-star starting pitchers were out of the game after 5 innings, allowing 3 runs. And I mean, both teams kind of did their best against these starting pitchers. It was a really, really intense matchup. It was 3-3 until the Dodgers, Ohtani's second RBI hit came in the bottom of the 6th. And, we're going to talk in the next segment about the bullpen. We'll talk more about Flaherty. Bullpen was lights out. But offensively, like, this is kind of what you expect in a good baseball game between 2 really good teams. I saw a lot of, I actually had to force myself to stop looking at social media for a little while tonight because there's so much up and down with every inning. And like I said, everybody processes things differently. And for me, that wouldn't be healthy for me to have those emotional swings every single inning. Oh, they went 1, 2, 3. They're the worst hitting team in baseball history. Oh, they scored. They're the best. That's why they play 9 innings. And I've said many times, the score applies to the whole game. They don't decide who wins until the game is over and see who has more runs. And so if you score 1 in the first and 2 in the 4th and 1 in the 6th, as long as the other team only scores 3 total, you win the game. Hashtag math. And I'm not meaning to condescend anybody, but the concept of a game like this, that's where the stress comes in. And it's a lot of fun in small doses. I could not live and die on every game like this. 162 games of the regular season, I couldn't do it. This has playoff implications. It's a playoff atmosphere. And so I'm allowing myself to kind of treat it like a playoff game emotionally. But even then, it's like, okay, a bad inning. Yeah, sometimes Dylan Cease is facing your 6, 7, 8 hitters, and he gets about 1, 2, 3. It happens. But the fact that the Dodgers were able to get Cease's pitch count up and get him out of the game, get a win with a couple of their good relievers, at least pitching, they kind of, just a huge win for the Dodgers here. And Shohei Ohtani, I see some comments about Mookie in the chat. I'm going to talk about Mookie in the third segment. We're going to dig into his struggles. But I want to talk more about Ohtani, because one of the things that you probably remember, if you're on Twitter, if you're not, congratulations, I'm jealous. But if you are on Twitter, you might remember the Angels fan who in the offseason, in a fit of jealous rage, his mom or grandma, whoever he lives with, forgot to take away his tweeting fingers. And he tweeted something about how Ohtani never gets big hits in big situations. He's just a compiler. He just gets the garbage time RBIs. And so good luck with that. And in fairness to that guy, he is an Angels fan, so he's only familiar with garbage time. But what we saw from Ohtani here, what we've seen from Ohtani the last few weeks, and really, like I mentioned the other day, his clutch stats are really good this year. And so beginning of the year, he struggled. He was really bad with runners in scoring position at the beginning of the year. Since then, he's been awesome. Ups and downs, not perfect by any means, because he's a baseball player. Nobody's perfect. But what he's done, what he did in this game, this is a playoff atmosphere. You're fighting for your playoff lives. And for him to come up with 2 huge hits to both times give I think both gave them the lead, right? Both times gave the Dodgers the lead. Just remarkable in how wrong that guy was this offseason in his assessment of Ohtani. And again, to be fair, Ohtani never had a chance to play important, meaningful games with the Angels. And so this guy was just guessing. He guessed way wrong. Shohei Ohtani is right now playing within himself, just, not necessarily trying to hit a home run. Although, I mean, his 2 hits were 109 and 108.6 and 116.8 off the bat. I mean, he's hitting the ball hard, but maybe he's more chill now that he has the 50-50. So it's like, I'm just going to drive in runs. I'm just going to hit the ball hard. If it goes over the wall, great. If not, that's all right. I'll just hit 117 mile an hour double to drive in a run. Whatever it is, it's working. And I love to see it. Shohei Ohtani obviously is so much fun to watch, as we've talked about over and over. But it was fun. I'm going to come back in a minute. I'm going to talk about the pitching, because Jack Flaherty had his ups and downs, did enough. The bullpen was lights out. Almost entirely different relievers than who pitched yesterday when the bullpen was lights out, which bodes well to have back-to-back days with mostly different pitchers, maybe all different pitchers. I'm trying to looking at who pitched today. I think it was entirely different pitchers, and yet they were lights out for the second straight day. That's a good sign. We're going to dig into all that. So, and then in the third segment, like I said, we're going to talk about Mookie's struggles. We're going to talk about Miguel Rojas' injury. We'll dig into that. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the excitement and win up to 100 times your money with Prize Picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 while watching sports. You can make a Prize Picks lineup of players across all different sports in as little as 60 seconds. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5, even if you don't win, and get 4 weeks of free W's. That's almost up. because one passing yard from Caleb Williams gets a one win on Prize Picks every week in September. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. I am back. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. Thank you so much to the ton of you who are here live with us tonight, filling up the chat. Appreciate that. Hope you're commenting too if you're watching this later in the YouTube comment section. Like I said, it was popping off yesterday, as the kids say. I think that's what the kids say. Whenever I ask my kids what the kids say, they just roll their eyes at me. So maybe that's what the kids say. But anyway, remember, you can become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can make your second listen of the day Locked On MLB, hosted by Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, covering all of Major League Baseball. He does a really good job. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube, 2 24/7 streaming channels. Locked On Sports LA is where you can get the Locked On Dodgers postcast after almost every Dodger game, hosted by Pete Fox. And remember, you can catch every pitch of every Dodger game on SiriusXM or the SXM app just by searching for Dodgers. Jumping back in, I am going to try to keep my eye on the chat, but as I've mentioned before, it is harder to do that when I am doing a solo episode, because I'm trying to also focus on what I'm talking about. When Vince is here with me, I can ignore him and I can read the chat, but that's harder when I'm talking to myself. But the pitching today, Jack Flaherty, we went 5 innings, 4 hits, but 3 walks. Like, the story of the night for Flaherty was the command wasn't there. He wasn't getting the chase. Like, Flaherty and Cease started off really similarly. The difference was that the Dodgers were swinging at all of Cease's pitches out of the strike zone, and the Padres weren't swinging at Flaherty's. Cease was not pounding the zone, and eventually the Dodgers kind of started making him work. He also walked 3 guys, but early on they were chasing, and Flaherty wasn't getting the chase, got his pitch count elevated. They both, like I said, they both went 5 innings, and they both Cease 97 pitches, 57 strikes. Flaherty 100 pitches, 59 strikes. So almost identical lines. Almost the same number of base runners, same number of runs, almost the same number of strikeouts. Like, it was very, very similar lines for those 2 guys tonight. But Flaherty, 5 innings and 3 runs. Obviously you'd love to get 6 innings from Flaherty, especially in a postseason game. But in the postseason also, you have more days off, so the bullpen is a little more rested. You have all those things we saw tonight. This bullpen can definitely take down 4 innings of a postseason game. You hope they don't have to every time. And Flaherty is the one guy who you should most be able to count on to give you 6 innings. Flaherty's walk rate overall this year is pretty darn good, but lately it's been bad. And so it's something to keep an eye on for sure. But it was, he did a lot of bend but don't break in this. And we've seen that a few times with him since he came to the Dodgers that I've been really impressed with. Innings that might have gotten away from Landon Knack or Bobby Miller or, Gavin Stone at times, don't as much get away from Jack Flaherty. He finds what he needs to find. I've said it about Walker Buehler, how you hope that when he has 3 straight really good innings, it kind of flips a switch and he remembers, oh yeah, this is how I pitch like a dominant starter. And kind of the same thing applies to Flaherty, obviously on a different scale, because Flaherty overall has been much better than Buehler this year. But there were times tonight when we saw dominant Flaherty, and there were times when we saw nibbling Flaherty. And my hope, this was his last regular season start. Next time we see him, it will be in the postseason. He should have a lot of rest, because the Dodgers' magic number is down to 2. I said all along, if the Dodgers win 1 game this series, they're going to win the division, because now all they have to do is win 2 out of 3 from the Rockies, even if they lose tomorrow, and even if the Padres sweep the D-backs. So the Dodgers are going to win the division. So hopefully Flaherty's next start won't be until next Saturday. So that's today's Wednesday. So we're talking 9 days rest. So hopefully he'll be ready to go 6 innings and ready to, he'll probably have a good bullpen session in between there, maybe even a sim game to make sure he's fully ready. But all we can do is hope that when the playoffs roll around, locked in Flaherty shows up. Now, the bullpen was really, really good tonight. Alex Vesia came in the 6th inning, had a good inning, and then he walked one guy, but that was it. And actually, that guy ended up getting caught stealing. And then Vesia came back out for the 7th inning just to face Jake Cronenworth, who actually was at the plate when Bogaerts got caught stealing. And it's the second time recently that we've seen Vesia come back out for a second inning just to face one lefty and walk that lefty on 4 pitches, which is obviously frustrating for everybody, him and, the Dodgers and us as fans. One time was not a trend. 2 times probably still isn't a trend, but I assume they will think twice. This is okay, well, let's see if this is something he can do, because Jake Cronenworth is much worse against lefties. It's the right call. The problem is Alex Vesia is your only, like if Anthony Bonda was on the roster, they probably, maybe let him pitch that whole inning because you had Cronenworth and then a righty in Solano, but then Elias Diaz, maybe that's an inning that you let Bonda have if he was there, but they went with the lefty, and in the end it worked out because Evan Phillips came in, and this time instead of giving up 5 runs like he did last time, he came in after Vesia walked the leadoff guy on 4 pitches. This time, Phillips was awesome. And just continuing the theme. And then Blake Treinen. Like, this 8th inning might have been – I'd love to hear your thoughts on the 8th inning in the chat. Maybe you guys have already seen it. Matt says that Blake Treinen and Michael Kopech are a great 2-inning combo. Absolutely. And, throw that in. Here we go, Tyler. Having Blake go against their 2-3-4 was a great call. I thought Kopech might be in that spot, but Treinen cruised through the heart of their lineup. Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with either of those guys. And I really liked the Treinen call there because when Flaherty gave up the home run to Fernando Tatis, I turned to my wife and I said, I don't understand why anybody has ever thrown a fastball to Fernando Tatis Jr. And Michael Kopech's strength is his fastball. Guess what? Fernando Tatis's strength is hitting fastballs. And so I absolutely believe Michael Kopech can get Fernando Tatis out, but I think a guy with Treinen's movement was a much better call there. And so Treinen comes in, first pitch, throws a sweeper, and Tatis lines out to left field. And then 6 pitches later, the inning's over on 2 strikeouts. But the Machado strikeout was such a thing of beauty because Treinen threw 2 sweepers that made Machado look like an idiot, swinging and missing at a pitch that missed the zone by a foot. And then it's like he's playing chess and knows, okay, if Machado sees spin, he's not going to swing. And so then he threw a sweeper or slider or whatever with less movement that he could throw for a strike. And so Machado predictably saw, he threw me another sweeper. No way I'm swinging at that thing again. Called strike 3. Just masterful pitching. When you've got the stuff that Treinen has combined with the experience, that obviously the know-how. Treinen has been a dominant closer at times in his career. He's been the best relief pitcher in baseball at times in his career. He's an old man. Like, he knows how to pitch and he has really good stuff. Just like, I'm probably going to, when I'm done recording, I'm probably going to go just watch the top of the 8th inning again. And then I'll watch the recap 3 or 4 times because that's what I do. I may watch the condensed game, but I am definitely watching the whole top of the 8th inning again. It's only 7 pitches and won't take me long. And every one of the pitches was perfect. I loved it. And then Michael Kopech comes in, and, Kopech, the one concern about him lately has been the command. He did walk a guy. But when you've got his stuff, Donovan Solano struck out 3 times tonight. Donovan Solano doesn't strike out much. They call him Donnie Barrels. Maybe says something about our willingness as a society to give a guy a nickname, but still, Donovan Solano does not strike out much. He struck out 3 times tonight, including to end the game. And it was just Kopech saying, okay, I'm just going to strike you out now. He tried it with Cronenworth, and honestly, I didn't hate that Cronenworth walked because Cronenworth does kill the Dodgers. He does hit better against righties. Obviously, you never would intentionally or purposefully walk a guy to put the tying run on base, especially when they have a fast pinch runner who's going to steal second base. But Michael Kopech against Donovan Solano, I felt really good about because he has the stuff to strike out even a really good hitter like Donovan Solano. and he did it. And it was like the whole thing for the game. The Padres had 4 hits. None of those came in the 4 innings that the Dodgers bullpen pitched. They had a total of 10 base runners in 9 innings. That's really good from the pitching staff. Just boom, boom, boom. Everybody who pitched today got the job done. And, if it wasn't for Ohtani, I'd say, the bullpen is the player of the game in this game. But I mean, when Ohtani drives in the go-ahead run twice, including the winning run, you kind of got to give it to him. But yeah, the bullpen lights out. And like I said, totally different crew than who pitched lights out yesterday. And now nobody's super overworked. Bruce Dargaro is definitely available. We know that Blake Treinen only threw 7 pitches. He'll be available on Thursday. You still have a lot of good relievers available for Thursday with the chance to clinch the division at home against the Padres, which is what I'm hoping for. Hopefully they don't need the good relievers. Hopefully they, like I said, take Joe Musgrove to the woodshed and then whoever wants to pitch, let Kike finish the game because they're up 20-4 like they were against the Marlins. Anyway, I'm going to come back in a minute. I'm going to talk about, one of the big downsides, the two big downsides of this game. Mookie Betts had a really bad game, second bad game in a row, and Miguel Rojas got hurt. We're going to dig into both of those things. So thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning, and please continue to keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode of Locked On Dodgers is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The postseason's coming up, and if you're thinking about following your favorite team across the country this October, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we are talking about other team cities. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in a rival team's city. If a city has a big league team, it also has great places to stay. I've booked great hotels in nearly every MLB city in America, and Booking.com makes that so much easier. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. for your October postseason travel this MLB postseason. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Hey, I am back. Thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Thanks for being here with us live. Obviously, more fun to talk Dodgers. And last night's episode was cathartic, but I wouldn't call it fun. This one, it's just fun because the Dodgers won the game. Shout out to all of you in the chat. Noah Ortega, as you know, Clint mentioned this on his stream right before I went live. I believe, Noah, you're undefeated this year, right? I think that's what I heard. Noah, the Dodgers haven't lost when Noah was there. Noah is the opposite of my brother, who is no longer invited to Dodger games. They are only defeated this year when he's gone. So you know what? Good job, Noah. Way to bring us luck. A lot of people I know, obviously Clayton Kershaw bobblehead, big game against the Padres. I know a lot of people who were there tonight. Sounds like a fun game to be at. I wish I could have been there with you, but I'm here with you now. Mookie Betts, he went 0 for 4. I think it was 4 pop-ups in the infield, and that was with a lot of opportunities to drive in runs, and he didn't get the job done. The first time, Teoscar Hernandez picked him up, but it was a rough game for Mookie. And I do think, though, that people are overreacting a little bit because prior to these 2 bad games, in the month of September, Mookie has been batting .286 with a .901 OPS. Not amazing numbers, but basically right in line with his season numbers. And it really is 2 bad games. And so far, we don't know if it's going to turn into more bad games, but I think what's going on is we all remember the last couple of years, especially last year when Mookie just didn't show up in the postseason. And I think this is maybe a little PTSD. Oh, this looks like postseason Mookie. And it does look like the Mookie we saw in the postseason last year, but that doesn't mean that it is. And that's the thing to remember. This baseball is a hard sport, even in that span I talked about, that he's had a good month of September. He's had back-to-back games with no hits against, let's see, the last game against the Cubs and the first game against the Braves. He went 0 for 8 in those 2 games. He's had, games where he only had 1 hit. Nobody is perfect every game, and sometimes you have 2 bad games in a row. I always like to talk about back in 2017. Remember, the Dodgers went on their 43-7 run or something that summer to just run away with the division. During that stretch from late May to sometime in August, the Dodgers only lost back-to-back games twice. And it happened to be the 4 games that I went to. 2 games against the Nationals in early June and 2 games against the Braves in late July. Literally, the Dodgers were the best team in baseball during that stretch. They were 43-3 when I wasn't there and 0-4 when I was, because stupid things happen. It wasn't because I was there. It wasn't because they were a bad team, those 4 games. It was just because in baseball, the better team loses sometimes. The good hitter gets out 4 times in a game. And yeah, seeing Mookie hit pop-ups 4 times tonight was very, very frustrating. But I don't think there's anything about it that makes me think, well, he's definitely going to hit 4 pop-ups again tomorrow. He's not Luis Cruz. He's Mookie Betts. We could just as likely see line drives tomorrow. And maybe they don't fall. Maybe he's 0 for 4, but they're hard line drives right at people tomorrow. And then the next day, the line drives start falling because they're playing the Rockies. Who knows what it's going to be tomorrow, let alone in 10 days when the playoffs start. But I think we need to not overreact too much to Mookie and be glad that the Dodgers have a good lineup around him so that when he does struggle, they can still pull off a win against a really good team like they did tonight. Matt says with that record, maybe I should watch on TV only. I didn't go to another game that year until the postseason, Matt, because I was so nervous. And then the Dodgers lost the World Series. But that was because the Astros cheated, not because I was there. Don't blame me for 2017. We know whose fault that was. The other bad part of this game was Miguel Rojas got hurt. We saw him after he made a diving catch in the field and was kind of shaking his leg out. And then later on Ohtani's RBI double, Rojas stopped at third, and then the ball got away, and he thought about going, and then he stopped and came back. And then his groin was bothering him. He stayed in there to run, but then after the inning, Dave Roberts took him out of the game. And they said it's actually his adductor. They said during the game it was his groin. Groin and adductor right next to each other, very all interconnected. And Rojas said it's something he's been dealing with for a while now. He said he's going to get an MRI tomorrow and get an injection, and that he's hoping to get into a game before the regular season ends, and then be ready to go for the postseason. That's what he's hoping for. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. As Dodger fans, I think we're all a little gun shy when we hear an optimistic injury report. I don't think any of us would be surprised if we find out tomorrow, oh, it's torn and he's out. I don't think that would surprise any of us. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I do think this is definitely a case of where we remember the negatives and don't remember the positives, because sometimes a minor injury is just a minor injury and the guys do come back. So we'll see what happens. But I've been thinking, in this game, they put Andy Pages in center and moved Tommy Edman to short. Worked out well. Edman made a great play on the Bogaerts caught stealing, catching the ball as the ball was about to hit Bogaerts in the knee or in the elbow. And so he caught it, and the tag was on the elbow literally at the same moment. Great play. Rojas might have made the great, obvious. Rojas is a great defensive shortstop, but Edman made the play. So they weren't losing anything defensively. Where they lost something defensively was instead of Edman in center, it was Andy Pages. He did make a solid play on the only one I remember that was hit to him that he had to run for, made a good play. But then after Pages' one at bat where he got robbed of a double, they took him out and put Kiermaier in the game. And then they hit for Kiermaier later. And so that spot had a lot of moving around in the order. But how many people did bat in that spot or play in that spot? You had, Rojas, Pages, Kiermaier, and Kike all played in the 9 spot. The rest of the lineup was mostly just what it was. I guess they took Teoscar out in the 9th inning for defensive purposes, brought in Taylor. But, that's not a terrible solution. Realistically, it's what they have. But I do wonder, I was talking to our buddy Pat Dwyer on our Insiders Club about whether this maybe helps Kiermaier's chances of making the roster, knowing that Edman might need to play short. Maybe it helps Chris Taylor's chances because he can play both center and short. Not as well as Edman, but so it's going to be interesting if Rojas ends up not being available for the playoffs. What happens? Who benefits from that? It's hard to see Dalton Rushing benefiting from that, unfortunately. But somebody would benefit if Rojas is unavailable. Somebody who's currently on the roster bubble, and like we talked about the other day, Kiermaier and Taylor are kind of the two guys on the roster bubble, and so maybe they both end up making the roster if Rojas is hurt. So hopefully he'll be okay. We'll find out more after his MRI and everything, and in the next couple of days we'll get a better idea. But for now, that's what we know. But the other thing we know is the Dodgers won the game. The Dodgers' magic number is down to 2. If they win on Thursday against Joe Musgrove and the Padres, the Dodgers clinch the division. They will be either the 1, 2, or 4 seed, which means whenever the playoffs start, the Dodgers will have home field advantage. Even if they were to get knocked out of the division by the Padres, the Dodgers had home field advantage in the wild card series. That's not going to happen. The Dodgers will have home field advantage in the division series. The question is whether they will be the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Whether they will play the winner of the Brewers are locked in as the 3 seed at this point. So the winner of the Brewers series or the winner of the Padres series, the Padres will be the 4 seed. And so, we'll see who they play. I'm not going to say who I'd rather have them play because I don't want to have that on my conscience if things go bad. So that's where we're at. Hopefully a clinch tomorrow, and then they can just have a nice relaxing weekend in Colorado of Ohtani swinging for the fences and trying to get to 60-60 or something like that. But in the end, great game tonight. Great conversation with you guys. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your comments on YouTube here in the chat, on the YouTube comment section, all that. Remember, if you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. You can go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSense91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog, and both of our DMs are open there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We will talk to you tomorrow night.